leads us nicely on to our panel discussion. So obviously Tat-Hean has introduced himself a little bit. I'll open the floor, and Jan, would you like to take a moment to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name's Przydatek. I'm Director of Technologies at Lloyd Register Foundation. As a charity, we're in the business of making the world a safer place. We do that by enhancing safety and also around advancing education. And it's great to be involved with this program, but it's one of many that we're involved with that are across the globe. And personally, I'm involved a lot in some educational areas, but also in terms of autonomy, nanotechnology, and across a broad range of things. So NSIRC fits perfectly into the portfolio of what we want to do. And yeah, I'll say more a bit later.
Thank you very much, Jan. And Geoff, please.
So good afternoon. I'm Geoff Rodgers. I'm the Vice Provost for Research at Brunel. I mean, Brunel was established in the 60s to do research, particularly that was likely to be useful to industry, and of course to educate graduates that were going to be employable. And so that's what we do. But the opportunity of we were working with TWI in the 1990s, and the opportunity to build on that relationship through a variety of things has been a really interesting project. And I was around, I think I was there when the name NSIRC was invented, and before that. So NSIRC has allowed us to do a much higher volume of industrially focused research, and has been a platform to work much more smoothly with TWI and its industrial partners. And so that's had academic and industrial advantages, which has allowed us to do things at scale, which I think has been really useful. It's reduced the barriers that sometimes exist to working with industry. It's always difficult, but it's reduced those barriers, and it's allowed us to scale up the number of projects we do, and therefore I think had much greater impact than just working on a project by project basis. So I think it is a unique enterprise and relationship across the whole of the UK. There isn't anything quite like it.
Thank you very much, Geoff. And I might kick off the discussion by asking you a question then. Obviously, NSIRC worked with 39 different universities, but what would you say is the key benefit to you? You've touched upon research there, and I wonder if there's more you'd like to share.
I mean, I think we always want to be doing research which we are aware of is going to be useful for society. And I try to encourage all our researchers, whether they're in sociology or engineering, to design research, you know, when they're designing their research programs, to engage with the potential end users of that research. But the NSIRC model allows us to do that at scale much more efficiently by working much more closely with TWI, where they're actually starting to design things that we're going to get involved in without us even knowing. And so it's a completely different way of working, but it achieves that objective of ensuring that our research is aligned to the needs of industry, which is what we're after. We want to do high quality academic work. That's what we have to. That's our contribution. But out of that, you want to see benefits flowing to industry, to users, and to all the parts of society.
I completely agree, and that's a great answer, which kind of comes over to Jan, I guess, because Jan, you've been working with the program since it was launched back in 2012. In your expectations back then, have you been satisfied with the outcomes, and have you achieved what you hoped to achieve?
I think it's worth going back to why we got involved. And for us, the focus is about enhancing safety and advancing public education, which then enhances safety. And there's a natural marriage of that at TWI, at NSIRC, because you've got great research being carried out, which is directed by what industry needs, but we're also creating some amazing people. I mean, I've been lucky enough to get to know all of our students, and each and every one of them is just an amazing individual, an amazing engineer, and they've all gone on to do incredible things. So for us, it's about creating the people, but also almost as a part of that is creating the knowledge. And these are things we couldn't necessarily do on our own, but through NSIRC, between the three partners and government money, we've achieved something far bigger than we would have done on our own, and with the amount of money we've put into NSIRC. So the infrastructure that's been built, whether you see the buildings that are now there, whether you see the scale of students. I've known TWI since I was seconded there from where I worked back in 1998. And even then, it was a site that was very welcoming to people that wanted to learn. It was welcoming, it was taking on PhD students. It was just an amazing place. And now that's just gone up at scale. And what comes out of that is just some amazing things. It's knowledge, it's people, it's impact that leads to that I guess we'll come on to a bit later. So yes, it's we all had a vision of what it might look like, but I don't think any of us quite saw what it's become, and it's better than what we thought it would be.
You mentioned there about, I guess, going a little bit above and beyond and making the effort to meet each one of the students. Obviously, we've got some prospective students I can see in the question and answers coming up. Why do you take time to get to know the individuals and really understand, like you say, what research they're doing and why they're doing it?
So my involvement with the students has changed over time. So when NSIRC was initially set up, I was there almost once a week, talking with the students, talking with the team as we got things going, ironed out any sort of minor problems that there were, as there is with everything when you start something like this. So at that point, I had a very close relationship with all the students. But now that things are running well, it's important for us to make sure that the students are progressing, that they're happy in what they do. So I'm available if somebody wants to say to me there's a problem, then I'm happy to be there to listen. But it's also great to see the work that's being carried out. It's great to see people progress as individuals, but also their projects, and then also to be able to see how those projects can be taken forward, whether it's further developed or whether it's connecting it with the Lloyd Register Group, who as a foundation we own, and they're the people that actually make safety happen in the real world. So it's important to see the students, to see them develop and grow, and to be quite honest, it's a great fun part of my job, meeting them and seeing what happens.
It's brilliant to hear, and someone has made a comment, Tat-Hean, what makes NSIRC stand out from similar programs? Why is this different to what's currently offered across the academic space?
From my point of view, after running NSIRC for more than 8 years, based on the initial setup, what I felt is that the engagement with the sponsors, like Jan said earlier, Lloyd's Register Foundation and even BP, they're very engaged with our students. So we have monthly discussions with the students, and also they're actively participating in what the students are doing. At the same time, the NSIRC team are so engaged with the students. It's sort of like a family, like in-house. So they look after them well in the environment, and not only with that, but also they're integrated with the technology groups. So it is like a full supply chain that you have for the students, from research to applications, plus also mentoring. At the same time, also they get to expose themselves if they are working on, let's say, projects that can be applied in an industrial environment. For example, let's say they could have used the sensors on site for NDT applications. So this is something that you couldn't get in other PhDs, yeah, or research. So by doing that, straight away the students get to expose themselves. They get to learn something that they don't see daily on site. What's required, health and safety rules, project management kind of skills that they can learn. So it's very broad-based kind of skills that they can gain through our program.
I completely agree with that, having been through it as well. I think one of the things for me as a student was the fact that you're based not within the university environment, but within the industry environment makes a significant difference to your learning. And it's the same with the academics that are there supporting and the industry practitioners from TWI. You're getting real life examples, and that made a really big impact on me when I was studying. And I guess a question for Geoff is, you can see next year you're still looking to grow your involvement within NSIRC. Are you still actively engaged with the program? Are you meeting on a regular basis?
I mean, I'm personally not as active as I once was, but it's kind of taken on a whole life of its own. I mean, what was a cottage industry back in 2014 to some extent has blossomed into what is a multi-person thing. So there are people involved that I don't know now, but we are we are keen to continue it, and we're looking to think about how we can expand it. I think it's a nice model, and we think it's very effective. I mean, the point about academic activity is academic research. It needs to be high quality, so it needs to be rigorous and important and original, and that input into the industrial setting has value for industrial partners, because it means that the work that is going on is reliable, can be reproduced, can be used with some confidence. And those are the sorts of outcomes that industrial partners are looking for. So it's that combination of that academic rigor that improves the quality of the research that's going on and positions the research within a wider body of knowledge, which makes it more secure, more reliable, more useful, that really adds value to these activities. Because to some extent, some of these things could be done without the university's involvement. But if it wasn't academically grounded, it probably almost certainly would not be as strong or as useful to the partners that are involved. And so I think that's kind of an important when you're thinking about this relationship. For me, that's quite. I mean, I would say this, wouldn't I? But that is an important dimension of the way in which we work together.
I completely agree. And for Jan, a question has come in about social impact. So, obviously Lloyd's Register Foundation is very frequently talking about social impact. And what are the impacts you've seen coming out from your involvement with NSIRC?
Well, I think it's sort of building from what Geoff said in a way, is that the research in itself for us is not the end goal of our involvement with NSIRC. For us as a charity, we're judged on impact in the real world. And in some cases, that impact is the people. That's the main reason we went in, is to create industry-ready PhDs that are going to go out and change the world. But the research itself has tremendous value, not in itself, not as a report that sits in a journal, but it has impact that leads to other things, and it's those things that are really starting to come through. So just a couple of examples of what that looks like. I can't remember the exact number, but there's something like 24 standards and codes that have been informed and changed on the basis of research that's been carried out at TWI at NSIRC. Changing ISO standards, changing the way other people across the world are doing things is quite an amazing achievement if you consider where we started from. But we've also got people that are doing work where standards don't exist today, but these things are coming and standards are definitely being or will be developed. So we're building the base that standards will be built from. And that again is another amazing impact to have. But then you've got the final impact I'd touch upon is how this research is being taken up and then made into products and services that are out there making safety happen. And I can talk about, between TWI and the group we own, Lloyd Register Group, they established a company between them, which is a direct route to take the research from NSIRC and move it into products and services that can be sold, making the world safer. So there's a whole series of impacts for us. And for us, these impacts are about what we do well beyond TWI. In fact, it's what we do in the world. And that's where the social impact comes from.
Thank you very much. It's really good to hear that. And it's always just nice talking to a charity foundation like yours, where it's not just financially driven. There are wider points beyond that. I don't know, I can see, Geoff, you've come off mute. Would you like to add to that at all?
No, I mean, I was thinking we've been collecting stories about the way in which our research has led to public good in one way or another, and actually of quite a sizable fraction have come out of our portfolio of activities with TWI within NSIRC. So it is actually, so we've actually been building as part of our submission to the government for the Research Excellence Framework, we've been collecting stories together, and we've actually got 3 or 4 stories that emerged from our work in NSIRC, and some of those have been more serendipitous than planned. They've been because the relationships have been strong. We've tackled problems that we wouldn't have thought of tackling at the start. I think that's that's also quite a nice feature of these types of collaborations.
Excellent. And we've had 2 personal questions come in. I won't read them out, but I'll read the gist of it. Someone's looking to enroll on the MSc for oil and gas at Brunel, and they're just asking about the scholarship opportunities. And I think maybe a note for Chloe, if we could take that offline and you could reach out to that individual, that would be very helpful. And the other person hasn't mentioned their organization name, but has basically said that it's great to see what you're doing, and it would be nice to have some collaboration to encourage these bright youngsters. So it's very good to see that there are people on the call that are not only interested in joining a program, but also collaborating with the program itself. And I kind of thinking about your future plans for NSIRC, Tat-Hean, and future potential sponsors. What do you see as the direction of sponsors you would like to obtain for further research and growth of the actual centre?
Thank you, Warren. So this is interesting because over the last few years, I think different regions have hooked on to our NSIRC program, and they're very keen to see how they can adapt how we establish the program, especially, for example, in the Northeast. They would like to have a similar program that are run by NSIRC if possible. So we are in discussion with the local regions in terms of how to establish this from the UK point of view. At the same time, we are also trying to expand the program through our Greece office, through TWI Hellas, because we found that there are opportunities in Europe that we could benefit the European communities in that sense. But from the industry point of view, we have already attracted quite a few industry members from TWI. For example, Saudi Aramco and ADNOC, who have tapped into the programs and utilized the NSIRC platform in order for them to utilize the platform to support their staff to get into our PhD programs. Certainly, the ambition is to widen the contacts and the support from TWI industry members, so that we can link it up with our university partners and also current research sponsors. So by doing that, we get to widen the research scope, and hopefully the sponsors can also identify more synergies between the research and also the way forward for NSIRC as well.
It's a really valuable point about engagement with our industrial members, because driving that industrial-led research is really crucial to the success of this. So it's good to hear that that's still on our mind. And there's a question coming about conference. Obviously, there's an NSIRC conference that we hold normally physically every year, but this year has been virtual. And it's, I guess, directed at you, Jan. Is NSIRC PhD students are normally invited to attend your large international conference? And what other organizations usually join you for this conference, and what's the conference about?
Okay, so to put a bit of context into the foundation, we may be UK registered, but we operate globally. And across the globe, we have somewhere in the region of 100 grants doing different things in different places. Some of them in areas of structural integrity, some of them in training, and the list is actually huge of what we do, whether it's in sustainability, in digital systems, in the world of transportation and the sea, public understanding of risk. It's a huge community. And we bring them all together, or we try to bring them as much together as we can once a year, together with people from industry, together with the public. We allow the public and the press in as well to see what we're doing. And we host a conference that feedback from past students at NSIRC has been, it's like no other. It's not a specialist thing like you heard the case study of NACE, where it was about all corrosion and 6,000 people were talking about corrosion, deep experts. We cover all sorts of topics across a broad range of things. And it's a great chance to meet the other students. I mean, we're sponsoring something like 300 PhDs across the globe at any one moment in time. And then we have lots of other projects and programs that are taking place. But it's important for us also to include students we fund, to meet people, to get a broader picture of the world around them as well, but also to take part. So we have a couple of competitions. We have a poster competition. Last year we did this, and it was a digital poster competition. So normally you have a poster that is a fixed A3 sheet of paper that you can have affixed things on, and what happens if you can have videos and words that move across and all sorts. It's quite interesting. We have sort of 3-minute thesis competition as well, where students can compete on stage to see who's the best communicator of the year. You know, we have all these different things to try and encourage our students to come out and shine with their peers and beyond. So yeah, our conference is a great fun, and our students are an important part of that experience.
Yeah, brilliant. It sounds great. I haven't been to it myself, but I've heard very good things about it. So thank you for sharing that. And there's no more questions in the chat. So I don't know if anyone else does want to send a final question. If not, I probably would just pass it around maybe to Tat-Hean or someone to come up with a few kind of, oh, we do have a question. Wanted to know more about the scholarships for international students. How is the evaluation based on academic excellence, experience, or need-based? Again, Chloe, if you could take a note and either answer directly or reach out via email, that would be great. And Geoff, I can see you're off mute. Would you like to say anything?
Well, I'm just going to say, in terms of sort of expansion, there's also been it's kind of obvious really, but there's also been quite a shift in the sort of the centre of mass of technological activity that's been going on in NSIRC, and Tat-Hean has built very quickly a big portfolio of AI, sensor, big data projects in structural integrity, which of course we didn't imagine in 2014 was, you know, that wasn't an agenda at all, and so actually the kind of the centre of mass of technologies that we're now working on is a good bit different and shifted from that which we originally imagined as the technologies have moved forward. And I think that's probably also quite an important dimension as you think about developments for the future, that it's likely to be a lot more of AI and sensors and dealing with data, and probably a little bit less of the more traditional technologies that have been in this field sort of the last 10 or 15 years. But Tat-Hean knows more about that than I do.
Do you think the structure of the relationship allows that agile approach?
Well, it does, and actually these things just happen naturally now, because actually having built a structure in which, you know, almost any academics at the institution who's engaged can be drawn into the relationship, means that you've got a very broad base of expertise in the institution that can take part in whatever it is the industrialists are saying they would like to see happen next. And so I think it is. I think it's built. I think if what happens is relationships are just academic to industrialists, then when the agenda changes, often the academic won't necessarily have the right expertise or capabilities to support. But when you've got a more of a platform approach, then the platform can adapt, and the projects can take a different dimension over time, a sort of a different character over time. I mean, Tat-Hean knows much more about this.
So Warren, just worth mentioning that you know, the topics evolve depending on the industry needs. So I mean, we started a lot on, let's say, on structural integrity, fractional mechanics topics, but then now we're evolving more towards, say, AI, robotics, just based on the demand of the research sponsors. Really, I mean, certainly we are evolving, you know, to the latest technologies that we want to develop.
Tat-Hean, this is more of a general question, obviously relating to the innovation ecosystem and network at TWI, but it's, as has been mentioned already, it's not just about the fundamental research that's being done, it's also about the acceleration and continuation of that research. I don't know whether it's worth you touching upon the relationship with obviously innovation centres, of which Brunel University is involved with as well, right up to, Jan has mentioned, the joint collaboration and partnership on building a separate entity to commercialise that technology.
Yeah, no, thank you, Warren. So it's certainly worth mentioning it. So we always see that NSIRC, I mean, is the platform for, say, ideas generation or proof of concept, or testing the feasibilities of, say, a challenge that we provide to the students, for example. And based on that, I mean, hopefully, with their research, we get to understand better the problems or the challenges that are given, right? So certainly 3 years of research is not enough to develop a piece of technology or a piece of product. So what we hope to do is to incrementally increase the TRLs, or what we call the technology readiness level, through the program. So from NSIRC, PhDs, or even through the master's program, we work closely with the innovation centers. So of course, Brunel University is the first one to set up the Brunel Innovation Center in 2009. We now have 13 centers on board. So the aim is to see how we can translate the concept from, say, early stage research, or what we call the fundamental research, to applications. And the aim of the application stage is to prove whether is it feasible to scale up, or is it cost effective to develop the solution. Because sometimes the solutions may be very good, but the issue is it may not be scalable due to the scarcity of materials or due to the cost. So the center, which sits in the middle of the TRLs, will sort of like test and prove the techniques or the materials that have been established, and see whether we can upscale it or not. So if it's proven that it can, then either maybe our SME partners in this case, or TWI could exploit it with its members. So there are many ways we can exploit it, or even Lloyd could utilize this on this occasion. So there are many ways we can exploit it. So you can see that the full TRLs is covered, and certainly for and organizations to do this, it will take up many resources and also time and well, manpower really to do this. But with our collaborations with universities, SMEs, and our sponsors, we get fast track the whole development in a short period of time. And that's the beauty that we have here with the network.
Thank you. I don't know if you would like to comment, Geoff?
Yeah, I mean, I think we obviously see the purposes of NSIRC and BIC to be slightly complementary but connected, and I guess for us, we like to do sort of more shorter term contract research like the BIC does, and innovate type work, and also EU work, but we also like to do the slightly more blue skies things. So having that mix and those connections provide training and research opportunities for staff and students in both models, but they fit together. And again, both BIC and NSIRC offer the advantage, as I mentioned before, that they allow us to do that particular type of research at scale, and we're able to use we're able to step in and provide the academic input into relationships that TWI have got well established with the industrial partners. So it allows us to do things which are industrially relevant much more quickly, and that's really very, very, very useful and valuable to us.
Thank you very much. And there are no more questions. So before I close, would anyone like to say any few final comments on the panel?
Should I start first, Warren? So
yeah, go ahead.
Firstly, thank you for attending the panel discussions, and I hope that you get to join us in our program, be it as a student or as a university partners. I mean, with this, we hope that we can widen the opportunities and collaborate with more entities and widen our network as well. So the beauty of that is, all of us get to team up, and like I said, the main aim is to accelerate innovation, and that's the key.
Yeah. And I guess I would say that for the students and potential students, NSIRC is absolutely a unique industry-university partnership in the UK. There isn't another one like it, and you're getting a a really unique and interesting experience, which will be valuable and is actually the part of the way the UK needs to go in terms of getting the universities and industry working much more closely together to be successful. So I think it's both strategically very important, but also great for careers as well. So.
And Jan?
I'd say that NSIRC covers so much ground, and we live in a world where, you know, if you want to be an engineer, you generally want to do good. We have the UN SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, and if you look at the projects that are ongoing at TWI or looking for it to start, you know, many of these projects directly try to address the changes that we want to make in the world, which ultimately, from our perspective, make the world a safer place. So it's a great place to go to try and do your bit. It's a place where you get not just this sort of experience you'd get in a university of doing research, and there's nothing wrong with that, but this is an alternative where you get to do research in an industrial setting. And I think that offers you the advantage of when you leave NSIRC, you're ready for the world of work. It's not a case of having to learn the soft skills and how to fit into an organization. So there are definitely quite a few advantages to going to NSIRC to study.
And I obviously speak from first-hand experience, and my recommendation again would be that the course, I wouldn't be where I am now if it wasn't for NSIRC and if it wasn't for the course. And I think it's been hugely beneficial for my career to have had, particularly on my thesis and dissertation, an incredible supervisor, you know, that was really from industry and was dealing with clients and industry projects all day long. So my takeaway for any prospective students listening is NSIRC has been brilliant for me, and, you know, inquire with us, find out more. And if you want to reach out to me personally, I'm happy to have a conversation. So I'd just like to thank all of the panelists for their time today. And again, all of the attendees for taking time out of their day to join this webinar. And hopefully we see some of you in person soon, whether it be sponsors, collaborators, students, etc.
Thank you.
So thank you, Warren, and thank you again to all of our panelists for joining, and thank you, Warren, for being a great host today. And with that, I will now close the session and wish you all a good day.
Have a good day.
Bye.